You are, Bill, in this new video about election denialism. I want to play a little bit of it.
There's an election coming up, and there's a collection of climate-denying creeps that could drive Earth's climate right off a cliff. If elected, the other side will shut down the National Weather Service. Then where would your phone get weather alerts in an emergency like a hurricane, flood, or wildfire? I know, it's scary, like a horror movie.
Climate denialism is what that is all about. Why are you taking this step? I mean, do you think that this is really, there have been climate deniers for a long time, including Donald Trump back in the White House. Why is this moment different?
Well, this is the election to win, you guys, if you are concerned about the future. If you have kids, if you have grandkids, one side is pretending climate change isn't happening, the other side is going to do something about it. I used to say the election of 2000 was the most important election of my lifetime because if Al Gore had become president, he won the popular vote, but if he had become president, we would have done something about climate change. We haven't. So we're kicking the can down the road into the future. And that is in nobody's best interest. Now, I know there are a lot of other issues. I watched what went on around the table earlier. But climate change is, if you're a young person, climate change is a very concerning thing. And so, Scott, you're from
Virginia Beach.
Yeah, and you have worked with, because the Navy is concerned about
Sure, resiliency and sea level rise, absolutely. And even in Congress, I was in the Climate Solutions Caucus.
Yeah.
And I think there are many people on our side, and I think, quite frankly, in my opinion, Donald Trump's the same way, pragmatic in a way to try to thread a needle between economic growth as well as environmental protection, and trying to figure out a way to actually do that. I think
Well,
one of the
Scott, can I play
Sure,
what,
of course.
what Donald Trump said?
I know what he said, but there's a difference
but
between what he says
here's
and
what he
does.
said.
Well, this
it was
is what
very
you guys say
recent.
all the
Just
time.
let's play.
All right, here we go.
I haven't heard the environmental stuff mentioned in 6 months. I was saying the other night, what the hell happened to the environment? They don't ever talk about the environment anymore. You know why? Mike is saying, don't talk about it now. No, it's one of the great scams of all time. You know why they don't talk about it? Because people aren't buying it anymore.
It has become kind of an article of faith among certain conservatives to deny that climate change is real. I mean, even when Florida got hit by 2 massive storms within 2 weeks, basically, you had the governor down there basically saying this has nothing to do with the fact that the Gulf of Mexico is at record high temperatures.
Well, look, I don't think climate's certainly changing. I don't think there's deniers. I mean, I know that people get politically attacked all the time. You're a complete denier. I don't think Ron DeSantis is a climate change denier. He appreciates evidence, and I think he's actually, that interview he was talking about the strength of hurricanes over time and historically speaking where they were. Like I am one who wants to, as you said, I'm from Virginia Beach. We have an issue with sea level rise. We have an issue with resiliency. We have flooding and all that stuff. I think we're the second most impacted after maybe Miami area or something like that. So what's the solution? He talked about money going away and being scammed and everything. There are a lot of scams. Oxfam just came out and just said there's tens of billions of dollars of missing money. They can't even account for it for World Bank and climate funds and money that's being used for that. They don't know where it is, right? They just passed, Biden administration, of course, passed legislation with billions of dollars in the Inflation Reduction Act, and there was money for climate in there. What have they done with it? I mean, I'm not sure. I would love to protect the environment. I want to protect the environment. I think Donald Trump does and most Republicans, but we want to do so in a way that's fiscally responsible and also balances between economic growth and protecting the environment.
In the Infrastructure Reduction Act, it's about a long game. And so one thing that is in there that just because you said you didn't know what was in there is that building.
No, I didn't say I didn't know what was in there. I said what have they done? Doing?
Well, they're building buildings that are more sustainable, that cities are trying to go green because you can't fix the problem immediately. We didn't take it overnight to get here, and so it's not going to take overnight to fix it. And so obviously you don't build a building in a day. It takes some time, and then that impacts. So that's one thing that they're doing. Look, I'm not a climate expert, so whatever you say, I'm following.
Now you're talking.
You know, so
throw it over to Bill Nye.
On climate here, okay?
But on the Inflation Reduction Act, that is also known as the Clean Energy Plan. So it's not something, as you say, you don't do it overnight, but one side is going to do something about it. The other side almost certainly will not. And I appreciate that you were in the Climate Caucus or the
Climate
Environmental
Solutions
Caucus, right? Yeah.
Caucus, bipartisan.
But you're exceptional. And my concern about the guy running on the other side is he is going to surround himself with sycophants who are also not going to address climate change. And he's going to essentially take bribes from the fossil fuel industry.
I wonder I mean, can you give us a sense of what was it like under Donald Trump when he was president when it comes to dealing with the environment? I mean, was there just nothing happening?
Well, his emphasis was to roll back regulations.
Yeah.
And this idea that regulations are inherently bad, I think, is misguided.
Do you think it's important to roll back some regulations for nuclear energy to make sure that's more
So,
robust? Because that,
okay,
of course,
here's
is the cleanest
challenge.
energy.
Okay, well, sort of. Here's the challenge if you want nuclear power.
We have a bunch of them in ships right off our coast.
Well, see, the Navy is great with those things because they manage it and they bury them in the West, in the mountain states.
Yep.
But you can't do that with all the ways. The other thing, the main thing, you know about NIMBY, not in my backyard. Are you hip to banana? Build absolutely nothing anywhere near anything. And so people don't want nuclear power in general, but that's changing. Some people who in medium-sized towns are taking a look at it. If you want to do nuclear power, you have to overcome public skepticism. So there are about 430 or 440 commercial nuclear plants around the world. 3 of those have had catastrophic failures. You would not get on an airplane that crashed every 3 out of 440 times. So
We should use thorium.
so thorium is less energetic and more plentiful some places, but solving this problem in the short term or medium term, nuclear power is a huge challenge.